The ensemble unleashed a rapid succession of snare beats. The lights danced across the gleaming Hollywood set. Jimmy Kimmel leaned in, cue card in hand, a grin spreading across his face that hinted at the cleverness about to unfold. Esteemed audience, let us applaud the man who has likely delivered more blows than the LAPD, the one and only Jason Statham. The crowd burst into applause. Jason emerged with an effortless grace, clad in a tailored dark suit, one button casually undone, exuding a relaxed swagger, unadorned yet undeniably impactful. He acknowledged the jubilant crowd with a nod, clasped Jimmy's hand in a firm shake, and settled into his chair across the desk. Jimmy wore a smile. Jason, it's a pleasure to have you here, my friend. It's good to be here, Jason remarked nonchalantly, leaning back in his seat. With a subtle flick of his wrist, Jimmy shuffled the cards, the soft sound of paper brushing against paper filling the air. Your narrative is quite extraordinary, to say the least. From the heights of Olympic diving to the bustling energy of street vending, and the allure of selling perfume outside nightclubs. And now you find yourself battling CGI megasharks on extravagant billion-dollar sets. That's not a profession. That's a figment of imagination. The audience erupted in laughter. Jason wore a sly grin. Indeed, I chose the picturesque path. Jimmy leaned in, feigning interest. No, really, what was more challenging? Hawking counterfeit cologne while clad in a hoodie or feigning a brawl with The Rock? A fresh surge of laughter echoed through the air. Jason's smile remained almost imperceptibly still. His eyes remained unyielding. Jimmy remarked, "You've essentially transitioned from hawking fragrances on the streets to becoming Hollywood's designated neck snapper. It evokes a sense of inspiration. It certainly leaves me pondering whether I ought to have dedicated more hours to the gym rather than the comedy clubs." Jason inclined his head, his voice steady. "Have you ever attempted to sell perfume outside a pub at 1 a.m. amidst a football riot?" The laughter came to a brief halt. Jimmy let out a soft laugh. "I cannot say that I have." Jason leaned forward slightly, his tone taking on a chill. "It's fascinating, Jimmy, how often people revel in discussing the journey of another, reflecting on the distance traveled. They seldom discuss the origins of their journey." Silence enveloped the audience. Jimmy's eyelids fluttered briefly. Jason remarked, "You were given a mic, Jimmy. I found myself in a struggle for one. And there it stood, quiet, calm and composed, just sufficient to alter the position of every atom within the studio." The laughter has faded away. Their eyes grew wide. Phones emerged silently. The room had ceased to be an audience for a talk show. They observed a man seizing control of the story as it unfolded before their eyes. The atmosphere was established, and it had ceased to be a matter of humor. Before we move forward, be sure to like and subscribe to witness Jason Statham's thrilling showdown with Jimmy Kimmel, and share where you're tuning in from today. The studio lights flickered in vibrant shades of gold and crimson. The band unleashed a spirited riff, horns blaring and bass thumping, while the camera swept over the exuberant crowd. Jimmy Kimmel Live, illuminated in striking white letters against the backdrop, stagehands moved with quiet urgency at the periphery. The atmosphere, electrifying, the epitome of midnight bliss. At last, the moment arrived. Jason Statham emerged from behind the curtain, clad in a sleek black suit, devoid of a tie, his collar casually unbuttoned, exuding an air of command. The applause surged, a tidal force sweeping through the space. A handful of whistles, a pair of standing ovations. The man strolled as if time itself had yielded to his presence. At ease, enigmatic, with no need to demonstrate anything. With a discreet nod to the audience, he clasped Jimmy's hand in greeting before settling into his chair across the desk, one leg elegantly crossed, exuding an air of tranquility. With a mischievous grin, Jimmy leaned in, eager to engage in the game. "Very well, Jason," he began. "It's clear to me that you're the one who thrives on action. We've all witnessed you dive from helicopters, take on 10 adversaries aboard a moving bus, and challenge the laws of physics in every Expendables film." Jason let out a soft chuckle. "Indeed, physics and I do not share a cordial relationship." The audience erupted in laughter. "Have you ever found yourself simply sitting down and shedding tears while watching a romantic comedy?" Jimmy inquired, masking his true intentions with a veneer of sincerity. Does Jason Statham experience emotions when it comes to The Notebook? Jason wore a sly grin. Only when the detonations cease. The sound of laughter echoed once more. The exchange was playful, swift, and resonated with the cadence of late-night television fantasies. You always wear that serious expression, my friend, Jimmy continued. It seems to me that if I were to witness your smile reach its fullest potential, the very fabric of reality might tremble, and a building could very well erupt in a spectacular display behind you. Jason shrugged, his demeanor as parched as the desert floor. I prefer to maintain a sense of simplicity. Due to insurance considerations, the throng erupted in a cacophony of sound. It was functioning as intended. The audience was captivated. Jimmy was getting into the groove, clearly relishing the connection. Yet Jason was there, keenly aware, yet he maintained a sense of restraint. His gaze darted momentarily to the front row. One could sense it, profound essence, a gravity that underpins the humor. Jimmy overlooked it. He threw another punch, a broad grin spreading across his face. You've taken on the roles of a transporter, a hitman, and even a shark puncher. Next, you will find yourself immersed in a romantic comedy centered around a florist grappling with anger issues. Jason arched an eyebrow. As long as I have the chance to body slam someone into a flower cart, count me in. Yet more laughter. Yet the atmosphere was merely beginning to simmer. Under the spotlight, the atmosphere remained light until it shifted. Jimmy reclined in his chair, a sly grin spreading across his face as the band's pianist struck a bold, dramatic chord. Do you know what truly astonishes me, Jason? Jimmy inquired, his voice light-hearted yet laced with a hint of intensity. You truly transformed from hawking counterfeit fragrances on the sidewalk to delivering powerful punches to sharks on the silver screen. Joyful sounds echoed throughout the studio, vibrant, daring, and pulsating with the essence of the night. Jason offered a subtle smile, his jaw clenching slightly, a detail the camera eagerly seized upon. Was that truly the original intention? Jimmy pressed on. Did you wake up one morning and declare, forget the cologne cart, I'm gonna leap from airplanes and supplex submarines? Jason released a measured, arid chuckle. I'm not sure if there was a plan, he remarked. I was certain that my journey would not end where it began. Indeed, but let's face it, Jimmy insisted, his smile growing broader. No one observes a man plunging into the depths of a hotel pool to retrieve coins and thinks, yes, that individual is destined to helm a whole action franchise. The laughter from the audience echoed once more, yet it felt more subdued this time. A few light-hearted laughs, occasional sidelong looks, the palpable unease that arises when a joke begins to blur the lines of reality. Jason's smile fell short of illuminating his eyes this time. Jimmy had more to say. I mean, come on, Jason, he said, leaning in with an air of feigned sincerity. The resumes of many individuals proudly display names like Harvard or Juilliard. Your message conveys a blend of fragrance trials and acrobatic feats. There were a handful of chuckles, yet they arrived at a leisurely pace. Jason remained motionless, the smile having faded away. When his voice finally emerged, it carried a coolness that was unmistakable, regulated. Indeed, my resume is quite unconventional, he remarked, yet it belongs to me. Each line on it is a testament to my hard work. Silence enveloped the room. Jimmy let out an uneasy chuckle. Hey, I'm just pointing out that it's quite an unconventional journey to Hollywood. Jason cast his gaze upon him now, gazed intently at him. Indeed, he remarked, his voice steady. It's amusing, really. Some of us had to ascend merely to gain entry into the room. Some came into the world already holding the keys. No conclusion. Without a laugh track, the audience became utterly motionless. Jimmy blinked, caught in a moment of uncertainty, grappling with the right words to say. A soft murmur swept across the crowd, accompanied by a few gasps, the palpable shift of energy in the air. Jason remained still. There I remained, hands neatly folded, my gaze unwavering. For the first time that evening, silence enveloped Jimmy Kimmel. Jason remained still in his chair. He kept his voice steady. Yet, the transformation was immediate. The crowd sensed it. He leaned slightly forward, his gaze locked onto Jimmy, not menacing, not filled with rage, merely unwavering. Grounded. You find amusement in the hustle, Jason remarked softly, because you've never had to rely on it for survival. The atmosphere became still, as if time itself had paused. The words resonated with the stillness of a pin dropping in a vast cathedral. Jimmy managed a feeble laugh, raising his coffee mug with a faint smile. Indeed, I hold a deep appreciation for the path taken. Jason interjected, composed and precise. Indeed, that is not the case. Not really, he replied. Your laughter resonates, for it brings you joy and amusement. Yet for a few among us it was merely Tuesday. In the biting chill, peddling cologne was no mere joke. It was a matter of survival, a means to cover the rent. The act of diving lacked any sense of exoticism. The hour had come for dinner. The crowd remained utterly still. Jason pressed on, his voice unwavering yet slicing through the atmosphere with the precision of a blade. It seems that individuals such as yourself find amusement in the trials of others. Safety nets are bequeathed to you. Illuminations, names that unlock possibilities. With a subtle movement of his hand, he appeared at ease. Is it me? I found myself without even a door. Jimmy adjusted his position in the chair. Jason remarked, I find myself here not due to charm or connections. I find myself here as a result of my efforts. Though I was struck, I continued to move ahead, undeterred by the absence of an audience. Jimmy cleared his throat, searching for his footing. Indeed, each of us grapples with our unique struggles. Jason offered a subtle smile. There is an absence of warmth. You battled for the ratings, he remarked. I battled for existence. The audience released a shared breath, as if they had momentarily lost the act of breathing itself. Jimmy cast his gaze down to the desk for a moment, then lifted his head, attempting once more with a smile. It seems I must concede defeat in this instance. Jason gave a single nod. No rounds, Jimmy, only fleeting moments. Certain aspects shape your identity. Others reveal your truths. With that, Jason reclined once more, maintaining his ever-composed demeanor. The audience surged, their response not one of mirth, but of resounding applause. One that develops gradually and ascends with integrity, not to be taken lightly, in pursuit of a truth. Jimmy reclined, enveloped in silence. Jason found no reason to elevate his tone. He had triumphed already. The studio had transformed. The spotlight had shifted away from Jimmy's performance. The responsibility rested upon Jason, and he had rightfully earned it. In that fleeting instant, the studio was enveloped in stillness, as if time itself had paused, leaving everyone frozen in place. The gentle hum of the lights filled the air, accompanied by the languid rotation of the stage fans, and the faint rustle of a shoe shifting in the back row echoed softly. A smattering of applause shattered the stillness. Initially hesitant, then increasingly resonant, a swelling wave of admiration, then a return to stillness. Jimmy remained motionless behind the desk, his gaze darting toward the off-camera producers, silently pleading for a signal. A fleeting getaway, perhaps. Jason reclined gradually, maintaining unwavering eye contact. His body language exuded openness, lacking any hint of aggression, yet his presence commanded the room with undeniable authority. He grasped his water bottle, unscrewed the cap, savored a sip, and then set it down on the table with measured tranquility. Jimmy mustered a smile, attempting to laugh it off. It seems I have just been Stathamed. A handful of courteous chuckles ensued, yet they resonated with little impact. Jason ultimately dispelled the tension, not through humor, but by altering his tone. I didn't come here to take shots, Jimmy, he remarked. Your realm is one of laughter. However, I find myself with no need to demonstrate anything to those gathered here. He lingered for a moment. Yet, I shall forever raise my voice for those who share my experiences. For individuals such as Roy. The individuals who toiled in silence, unseen by the world. The individuals who were never afforded the opportunity to rest upon seats such as these. Jimmy nodded, his demeanor subdued. I never intended. Jason lifted his hand with a delicate grace. No need for an explanation. Exercise caution in choosing whom you find amusement in. At times, they possess a deeper truth than the entirety of the room put together. The crowd erupted into applause once more, this time with greater fervor. Authentic. The change was palpable. The crowd that gathered for laughter and anecdotes found themselves presented with something weightier, something genuine. Jimmy glanced at his cue cards before casting them aside, a sheepish grin spreading across his face. Seems we've strayed from the original narrative, haven't we? Jason offered a subtle smile. Scripts have become overly praised. That made quite an impact. The sound of applause cascaded through the room. Not untamed, yet brimming with significance. Jason refrained from gloating. He merely nodded, exuding an air of tranquility. His message transcended the notion of glory. The essence of it lay in grounding. The tension had not merely dissipated. It had been supplanted by something new, with utmost regard, with a subtle sense of reverence. Jason Statham had not arrived to amuse that evening. He arrived to illustrate the true essence of resilience. Jimmy exhaled, a mix of relief and anxiety swirling within him, then glanced up, a sheepish grin spreading across his face. "So, no perfume samples tonight?" he inquired, a chuckle escaping his lips as he sought to lift the atmosphere once more. Jason moved with seamless precision. He wore a sly grin, merely the fragrance of existence. The audience burst forth, this time not with hesitation, but with a resounding, joyous laughter. The tension had shattered, and Jason had just delivered the flawless closing line. Jimmy pressed a hand to his heart with theatrical flair, feigning a stagger as he stepped back. Alas, at last, this is the Jason I had my concerns about. Jason rose from his seat, the atmosphere in the room electrified by the sound of applause. He reached out a hand over the desk, and without hesitation, Jimmy grasped it. "No hard feelings," Jason remarked, his smile serene and composed. "However, let us remain honest." Jimmy inclined his head in agreement. "Authentically, that seems reasonable. Greetings. A valuable lesson has been imparted. Never underestimate a man who performs his own stunts and crafts his own retorts." The studio band began to play. The cameras captured the handshake, the laughter, the authenticity. On that stage, there were no half-hearted jabs or feigned gestures of showbiz charm. Just two men, one of whom had once again echoed the essence of true grit for all to hear. As Jason made his way toward the backstage area, the audience rose to their feet, showering him with applause, not merely for a celebrity guest, but for a man who had silently endured a blow, held his position, and replied with incisive honesty and acquired respect. As the closing credits unfurled, the true moment, the one destined to capture the world's attention, was encapsulated in that final handshake. And in that moment of utter finality, the mere fragrance of existence. As the applause faded and the lights dimmed gently, Jason lingered at the edge of the stage, facing the audience not with arrogance, but with a serene composure. The lenses remained fixed, refusing to draw closer. The host remained silent, allowing the conversation to flow uninterrupted. For a moment, the room allowed him to breathe. He gazed outward, then uttered his words, softly, unprepared. "You know," he remarked, "when I was peddling counterfeit perfume and leaping from 10-meter platforms, the thought of fame never crossed my mind. I contemplated the essence of survival, improving steadily, maintaining a relentless desire for more." The audience fell silent, their attention captured completely. Yet, at some point in our journey, a notion took root, that the starting point of one's path is a source of shame. That if you didn't begin with a spotlight, your light holds no significance. He gave a subtle shake of his head. "I take great pride in my history. Each scrape, each step, every moment I had to battle, both in reality and in metaphor, for a seat at the table. The struggle, indeed, was what earned the seat." Jason halted, allowing the gravity of that land to settle in. One does not require applause to affirm their authenticity. You certainly don't require anyone's approval to command respect. Simply continue to present yourself, bringing your efforts, your authenticity, and a complete disinterest in masquerading as someone other than who you truly are. The ensuing silence hung heavy with contemplation. At last, his concluding statement straightforward and unambiguous. Success isn't merely about who has the final laugh. It is the one who has continually proven their worth to do so. With that, Jason Statham exited the stage. Not with a bow, not with a wave, but with a subtle reverence that only the genuine possess.